Fernando noticed that the number of phone calls he made each month was related to the number of text messages he sent that month. He plotted the relationship on the following scatter plot. So there are quite a few chapters or lessons in this Achieved book that would help with this one. I would probably look at chapters 5. This is a linear function graph. So I would probably take a look at chapters 5 and chapter 6. I think both of those would be helpful with this one. So if we're looking at this graph first, we have the number of text messages as the independent variable. This is always the x variable. And then the dependent variable is the number of phone calls. This is going to be your y variable. And we're looking at how the two are related. This is where the function comes in. Which linear equation best describes the relationship? The good news is that all of these answer choices are in slope-intercept form, which is the form y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept, or in other words, where does this equation touch the y-axis? Well, it doesn't touch the y-axis that I can see. I could rule out the, well, let me not rule out anything. Let me just work the problem. So we need to know the slope. We need to know the rise over run for this problem. And I can tell you that the slope is negative, because if you drew in the line, it is decreasing. It's coming down the page. Now this is not, this is a scatter plot. This is not a linear graph, but it's close. We can use the same generalizations here. So we know that the slope is negative. We can eliminate option A because that's a positive 1/2. So we know it's not A. We know that B has a slope of -1. C has a slope of -1. D and E have slopes of -1/2. So let's pick a point that is very clearly defined. And I see one right here. And I'll show you what I mean by clearly defined. You see how those points are on those intersections of lines. I don't want to get a point where I have to estimate. I want it to be right on the crosshairs of lines. So this one is at 2020. And this one is at 4010. So that will give me slope. I can use the slope formula to find the slope here. So I'm going to say m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And I'm going to let this be the first point and this be the second point. So we're going to say 10 minus 20 over 40 minus 20 is going to be -10 over 20, which is -1/2. So we know that our slope is -1/2. So I can eliminate B and C. Those both have -1 for the slope. And then we need to estimate this intercept. Now, let me point out to you first of all, here's the slope, here's the slope. So either of these has the right slope. Look at your intercept and decide, are we closer to 30 or 60 on the y-axis? Whoops. Sorry. I have no idea what just happened there. I must have moved something. I'm sorry. 30 is very close to this point right here. So we're in the neighborhood of 30. I would not, 60 is going to be way up here somewhere that I can't even see. So I'm going to go with D on this one. We're pretty close to the y-intercept at 30. And I am going to check this if I can find an answer key just to be sure that I have that one right, because that bothers, I don't like guessing, but it says the best representation. So I think we're okay, but I am going to check that before I start the next video.